Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good morning to one and all. We are in for the English lesson 1.5, the second part of the necklace. Previously, we had done all of that part where we finished off with what was going on. The party went off very well. Everything was done up in a proper manner. But when the day ended, or early in the morning at 4 a.m., Mrs. Loisel was totally dead found. That means totally in a despair mood because of what had happened to her. The necklace was lost. Finally, they literally searched it everywhere. They turned every stone in that case, and the necklace was not to be found. Let's continue in the same way. Part 2. They looked into the folds of her dress, in the folds of her cloak, in her pockets, everywhere, but they could not find it. That means they were looking in each and every part of her dressing, of the clothing, of the garment, of the cloak that she was wearing. And in that case, nowhere could the necklace be found. Are you sure still had it on you when you left the hall? He asked. Who is he? Mr. Loisel. Mr. George Rompos Loisel has asked his better half, that means Mathilde, Madam Mathilde, that did you have it on your body when you left the party? Yes, I touched it in the hall at the ministry. That means she replied with a most humble voice that yes, when I left the hall, I touched it in the hall itself, at the ministry itself. But if we had lost it in the street, we would have heard it fall. It must be in the cab. That means they are just making assumptions, they are just assuming things that this may have happened to the necklace. What may have happened? That if the necklace has fallen down, obviously it will make some sound, it will make some part of chime or clinking or clanking voice sound coming from the chain itself falling down, and because of that they will find that the chain has fallen down from the body. But if it has fallen down in the cab or in the taxi out there, obviously the taxi has a soft Dunlop seat where you will not hear anything fall out there. So they probably thought it might be in the taxi. Immediately the sound, or they start reviving themselves, they're recalling themselves. Yes, that's probably it. Did you take his number? It's not very common, it's most uncommon that people will take any cab driver's number or the auto driver's number or any private vehicle driver's number. No, was the reply from Madam Mathilde. They stared at each other, stunned. At last, Loisel put his clothes on again. I am going back, he said. Over the whole route we walked and see if I can find it. That means Mr. Loisel was totally in a complete haphazard manner, totally annoyed, totally shocked, totally astonished what to do and what not to do in that case. And in that way it was such that he wore his clothes on again and walked all the route back to the ministry till they had taken the cab at the scene or at the river bridge. He left. She remained in a ball dress all night, her mind blank. Her husband returned at about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. That means he left immediately. He did not return back till around 7 o'clock, and in the evening, obviously not morning, and she was sitting idle, doing nothing but thinking over the necklace which was lost, and thinking of how and what and when and where or which method could she return it in that particular manner. He went to the police to the newspaper to offer a reward to the cab companies everywhere. The tiniest glimmer of hope led him. That means Mr. Loisel turned the stone every now and then. Firstly, he went to the police place, and then he went to the newspaper to offer a reward to the cab companies. And firstly, he went to the police people, and you are making chaos for yourself, and in such a way the newspaper was a problem for me. She waited all day in despair at this frightful disaster. That means Mrs. Loisel was in the same dress the whole day, and Mr. Loisel totally exhausted, totally fatigued, totally frightened, totally lost in everything, and couldn't do anything at all. And in that particular despair or disaster manner, couldn't say anything in that particular way. Loisel returned in the evening, a hollow, pale figure. He had found nothing. You must write to your friend, he said. Tell her you have broken the clasp of her necklace and that you are having it mended. It will give us time to look some more. That means Mr. Loisel was dictating a note to Mrs. Loisel, and they wanted to check out the necklace is lost, and obviously you have. She wrote as he dictated. Dictated means said. Now Mr. Loisel is dictating a letter to Mrs. Loisel to write it down to Mrs. Forrester, who the person she had borrowed the necklace from. Obviously they have to declare that the necklace has been lost, but they cannot tell it directly because it may be very, very expensive, or it may have just been an imitation. But Mr. Loisel being a honest person, Mrs. Loisel being a person who is of extravagant type or of very lavish nature, but this person who is a clerk, who is working as a minor official at the ministry, obviously has to think over, turn over stones to collect everything now and then. At the end of 1 week, they had lost all hope, and Loisel, who suddenly looked aged means old enough, declared means said, we must consider now to replace the jewel. Now Mr. Loisel, after 1 whole week of searching, researching, turning the stones here and there, asking the cab people, asking the people on the road, asking the neighbors, asking all the other people at the party, they had lost complete hope of the necklace. Finally they decided that now they have to replace that particular jewel. Here the jewel means the necklace that was borrowed from Mrs. Forrester for that particular ministry party. And so they went from jeweler to jeweler looking for a necklace like the one, consulting their memories, both sick with grief and anguish. The meaning of grief with anguish is given, not that no, but I'll explain it to you in a better manner so that you get it in a better way. Sick means sad or physically under a mental stress. Grief means sadness, sorrow. Then anguish comes with pain and suffering. It is just a quote, or you can say it's an idiom. Sick with grief and anguish. Sick again means physically you are and mentally you are not feeling well. Grief means sad and sorrowful. Anguish means pain and suffering. In a shop at the Palais Royal, they found a string of diamonds which seemed to be extremely or exactly what they were looking for. It was worth 40,000 francs. Francs is the currency of the country of France. That means the necklace at a particular jeweler's shop named as Palais Royal. Palais obviously palatial means palace work. It cost 40,000 francs, which was not a small figure for this small minor clerk at the ministry. They could have it for 36,000. That means the shopkeeper said the actual cost of that particular necklace is 40,000 francs, but the shopkeeper was willing to give that same necklace for 36,000 francs. Obviously, franc is the currency of France. Like we Indians have the currency as rupees and paise, France has the country has the currency of francs, and so in that case. Any questions, any queries, any doubt, any meaning, any word, any line you have not understood, you are most welcome to ask me as and when you can talk to me, you can chat with me 24/7. I'm available. So please do as you are told and don't use your own will and own way. You can refer to your mobile. You have to be netizens. I've always told you that you must become netizens. That means people who use the net always are called netizens in that way. Netizens are people or students who use the net on the way, at the go, and it is better to do everything through the net. This is your page number 22 completed, part 2, page number 22 completed. Thank you. Jazakallah.